Okay, so there is a question from the gentleman just behind you.
Torbjörn Lundstedt. I just have a short question. I don't know if we should see it as a synergy or an overlap with the winning consortia in the last call, where they have a screening center as one of the parts in it.
I'm not sure whether I got the question.
The question is, should it be seen as a synergy or an overlap of the proposed, since the winning proposal in last call have a screening center in it?
It's a good question. We have to see that on the basis of the applications. If in the end there is a strong applicant providing both, and they might even argue that there are certain synergies in providing both parts from one consortium in the very beginning already.
But it's a consortium that already have which have a proposal ranked number 1 in the last call, which have a screening center in it.
I did not understand your question. Maybe it's...
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question either. Maybe just after the meeting,
we can take it off.
We can chat about it.
Definitely come back to that.
Sorry, there was a question over here. Do you want to? We'll go here first, if that's okay.
Frederik de Roos, Jans Pharmaceutica. It's a huge effort to set up a screening center, and many people have done it before. It's quite an investment. It takes a lot of expertise. I just have a question on the long-term goal of that. So what happens then if someone has really invested in that center, European center? What after those 5 years? What is the intention of EMI to do with that?
Well, it's the same question that we have had here in the front row already. What's the model on sustainability in the end? Yeah? And to be honest, I think there are a lot of ideas around. I've mentioned one. You have this public library as a foundation, maybe for a business model sustaining a construct like that. There are different ideas around, and we need even more to find the most suitable in the end. Yeah? It's not clear at this point. We need to elaborate that on our way to a full project proposal. But it will be a central part of that.
Yes, I think in the front row. Yeah.
Just to make it really clear, the optimum you expect is one physical center comprising of screening and running a library. Is that correct?
No. In the text, it is
no. According to that, what you said just now.
Maybe I was misleading you. What's in the text and what's agreed upon is we have, in an ideal case, one physical screening center, yeah, maybe two, that can be separated from any unit that houses and manages the compound library. Yeah. But that should be also one physical center. It's not that we distribute physically this library and both parts of the library across many different centers. Yeah? That's how it is phrased and put forward in the topic text.
Could you imagine that one spread different high throughput screenings over different locations? For instance, a first high throughput screening, there you find a lot of hits, and then a specified screening improving the quality of the hits.
If you think of the different work packages, high throughput screening, primary screening, and later on screening in the sense of hit characterization, I think that's possible. Yeah? I think that's possible because you can add additional expertises with very specific technologies to that end of making sense of a bigger screening hit list, figuring out what are the real target modulators that you are looking for and what are the artifacts in there. That is a possible scenario. Yeah.
So I think we'll have a question from Christian. And then
I have a question. Who in this room is now already associated to screening somehow? Could you please raise your hand? So it's a quite substantial number. Yeah. And therefore the question is, what is then the reason for a new center? And I would say the reason is if this is contributing to a better screening. So I would propose, I have nothing against a single center, but I would mean this should be a reference center. It should see the responsibility to arrive at the comparability of data, to validate common assays which are accepted by everybody, to be really a European activity, because most of those who have raised their hand are concerned, if they are not on board, that they might have a competitor by this thing, and we should not have this. We should integrate as much as possible, and so you generate this center, it is a reference center, maybe it has associated centers which are somehow validated, accepted, they supply, they have their own lives, and what we generate is a comparability of data. We generate a higher level of data, because what I am lacking, for example, I would propose, let's start the reference with all existing drugs in the screens, with all failed candidates in the screens. If this would come up, we would have a substrate which would help us very much in drug safety and everybody, and which would help us to build up something which allows systems pharmacology, which at present is not possible. So I think it's just a switch from a lead factory that is better than the others to the reference center which shows the others where to go.
Was that a question? That's what I think also. I mean, this is one way to go. The text, as it has agreed upon by the EFPIA consortium, has a little different twist. And I would go now through the application process. I agree, it doesn't make sense to generate something novel that is a big competitor to everyone that is involved in screening here in the room. Yeah? But it doesn't have to be that way. I would propose to go through the application process to see what the response, the feedback will be there, and to start from there. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question down here.
Charles Coombs from Imperial. For the last 8 or 9 years or so, we have been developing screens and also working with the chemists on new entities. But the one feature that we think is very important is that the screens are always an organic activity. We are developing the screens, modifying the screens, optimizing the screens, and that is done alongside the chemistry. And both are moving together to optimize and obtain a lead compound. So the idea of separating geographically the two activities really doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Okay.
That was also only a comment. I didn't see a question either. What?
I would like your response to that observation.
Okay. Okay.
What are you separating?
So, could we give the microphone to Peter?
I think every pharmaceutical company these days has screening activities to determine what potential chemical starting points are, and simultaneously have a network spread around the world where chemists all over the place think about optimizing that chemistry. So there is already a huge separation in that respect.
But that's far from optimal.
I would agree.
It works perfectly because the intellect of the chemists designing molecules, the only thing I have to find is a way to discussing the ideas, looking at results together, and with modern communication tools, you can do a lot.
Let me also give a different view on that, because I think